I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it doesn't really matter with me now because I have been to the mountaintop. And I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I am not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He has allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I have looked over, and I have seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we, as people, will get to the promised land. And so I am happy tonight. I am not worried about anything. I am not afraid of any man. My eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. And now, a message from our director, Miss Colleen McGowan, in honor of the Reverend Martin Luther King, Jr.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Alvin. Amazing words in Reverend King's last speech. Final words in his final speech on his final evening on earth. Happy and at peace at the end of, quite simply, a fearless, compassionate, and world transformational life. 2023 marks two tragic events in our nation's history: the 55th anniversaries of shocking assassinations, the 1968 assassination of Robert F. Kennedy in Los Angeles, and 2 months earlier in Memphis, the assassination of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. In Indianapolis, the evening of Reverend King's death, Robert Kennedy spoke to a crowd of African Americans in shock and on the verge of riot. He said, "We can make an effort, as Martin Luther King did, to understand, to comprehend, and replace that violence, that stain of bloodshed that has spread across our land, with an effort to understand, show compassion, and love." In celebrating Reverend King's life and legacy, we can probably do no better than to reflect on Robert Kennedy's words: understanding, compassion, and love. I've been reflecting a lot on our shared journey at ORS over the past several years, in so many ways, at so many times, in the face of so many epic challenges. I believe we can find daily comfort, inspiration, and strength in the words and legacy of a man who was granted but a brief 39 years in this life. He continues to live on in hearts and minds across this country and the world. We can richly benefit from studying and, with thanks to YouTube, listening to Reverend King's eloquent sermons and speeches in his soaring, God-given voice, passages in so many of his works quoted by memory on occasions throughout the year. These passages are so important to share that I've asked Tyler, Kiana, Louie, and Althea to recite several passages. First, Tyler.
The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in the moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at the times of challenge and controversy. The true neighbor will risk his position, his prestige, and even his life for the welfare of others. In dangerous valleys and hazardous pathways, he will lift some bruised and beaten brother to a higher and more noble life.
Every man must decide whether he will walk in the light of creative altruism or the darkness of destructive selfishness. This is the judgment. Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?
We must develop and maintain the capacity to forgive. He who is devoid of the power to forgive is devoid of the power to love. There's some good in the worst of us and some evil in the best of us. When we discover this, we are less prone to hate our enemies.
All men are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. And you can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be.
Thank you, Alvin, Tyler, Kiana, Louie, Althea, and every ORS staff member, our own single garment of destiny. This year's video represents my commitment, and I hope yours as well, to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. In the spirit of one ORS, you are seeing federal employees and contractors from every cluster join me today in honoring the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And remember that many of our first responders and Emergency Control Center employees will be marking this holiday on site at work as they do on many federal holidays, not on a relaxing day off, but here serving the NIH. Let's commit together to keep Dr. Martin Luther King's spirit alive in our own ways, especially this Monday, by taking a moment to serve someone else with intention, or to forgive someone with intention and humility, or to express gratitude in the spirit of this great American hero. Happy birthday, Dr. King.
Happy birthday, Dr. King.
Happy birthday, Martin Luther King.
Happy birthday, Dr. King.
Happy birthday, Dr. King.
This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning, "My country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring. And when this happens, when we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, "Free at last, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last."